can't work, can't do anything. To be honest, they created me, because if they hadn't froze my assets and hadn't done all this to my family, then I never would have been able to continue doing it, because I had so much to lose.
Right.
But once they took everything and they put me in that position, and then with my wife, so I've gone to court, I've got a not guilty. That night that I've got a not guilty, in court, as soon as I got not guilty, in court, they stood up and said, my wife's name will stand trial in 2 weeks. They give a date for my wife to stand trial. I then had to go home and sit down with my wife and say, you're in court in 2 weeks. They're trying you for tax. Now, I live a separate life. Anyone who doesn't know, I live a separate life to my wife and my kids. So if we travel somewhere in the car, I'll make them go in one car, I go in another car. If I don't walk the streets, because I have people who want to kill me. I've managed all these years on that there's no image of my wife online, which is quite hard in modern day.
Absolutely.
There's no images or pictures of her anywhere, right? And I've managed to do that. And now here she is going to be put into a court case. In the court case, when they give her court date, where far left groups and Muslim groups all waiting at every one of my court cases, all the journalists, all the media. So I have to go home and tell her, darling, you're going to walk into court in 2 weeks. You're going to be photographed, and your whole life's about to change. Because when I walk down the street, anyone can see it. I get confronted, I get attacked. Just this week I was attacked again. So I went home and told her that. 5 o'clock that morning, our door goes again. Yeah, it's counter-terror police. And they're there to issue us with an Osman warning. An Osman warning is a government warning that someone is intending to and planning to kill you. Now, the group that were intending to kill us were Al-Shabaab, and this was just after the Kenyan shopping mall massacre, where they killed everyone in Kenya. And I'd been named to be killed at all costs. So then I question, have I? This is all part of a game, all part of a mind game, where all of this is the pressure building. My wife's scared, now the terrorists want to get us. All of this is going on. When I get to court, because I'm in court again the next week, I'm in court facing a mortgage fraud trial. There's no evidence on me. The case what they actually got me on, in the end, it was nothing to do with, I had 7 mortgages, they were all legit. My brother-in-law, my wife's little brother had a mortgage. I lent him a deposit for his first house, and he lied about how much he earned on his mortgage form. He bought his property, he sold the property a year later. This was all 6 years before. It's just the little legalities they managed to bring us into court. I then sit down in court, and I'm told that if I plead guilty to the charges I face, then they drop my wife's charge, they drop my friend's charge, they drop my cousin's charge, they drop all of their charges. So then I'm faced with a situation where I get 5 years in. So I say, how long do I get now? And the solicitor said 5 years. I go outside, and funny enough, I documented all this. I've got all of this. I went outside and ran my wife and said, I'm going to get 5 years, but you don't have to go to court. She absolutely broke down, because she knew I haven't done the crime that they're trying to put me in jail for. She broke down, and we argued, and she said, you can't do that. I've got 3 kids, 5 years is a long time. I went back into court and said, I don't accept your deal. So let's go to trial. Because I know I'm getting a not guilty. Now, the minute I get a not guilty on these charges, I can destroy what they've done. They've closed my businesses. They've ruined my life. They've financially tried to break me with nothing on all these things. But they need me to plead guilty. So then they swore the jury, and I had 3 Muslims sworn in on my jury. Then just before the trial starts again, they say, they offer me another deal. Plead guilty to these charges, which were lesser charges, lesser amounts of fraud. So then I asked my solicitor, how long do I get for that? The solicitor said, you'll get 2 years tops. So I said, 2 years, that means I'm going to serve 9 months in jail. I'm taking it. So, because I want my wife to still enjoy her freedom that she enjoys today. Right. I don't want her to be in danger. So I took the deal. I said, okay, I'll plead guilty.
And she was also pregnant still at this time?
No, she'd had had all the babies. Yeah. Well, she was pregnant. This went on for 4 years. This case, do you know what? It's a hard thing to explain, because it did nearly break me, because I can take a punch in the nose, every day. More so than the destruction and the mental problems from what they'd done to my family. Because I said, when I started talking about Islam or ready to take on Islam, I knew the consequences. I fully well knew people are going to want to kill me. And I was ready for that. I don't know if I was really ready, but I was ready for it. But what I wasn't ready for was the full weight of the state. Yeah. Unbelievable.
But as you said, I think they made the worst mistake, because they didn't take almost everything from you, leaving something that still made you vulnerable. They essentially took everything from you, creating what you are now, and making you absolutely determined.
I'm a stubborn little... Very
I know.
stubborn. And so I took that deal, and my wife, everything was dropped against her. I pleaded guilty, so they got what they wanted. That's what you've got what you wanted. They then put me to prison, and I was sent to Wood Hill prison. Now, in between this 4 years of this case, I illegally entered your country. And I illegally entered your country in 2012. And I did that because in 2011, I tried to enter America. I was held at JFK Airport. I was deported. And the reason they gave me was that the British had told them not to let me in. They said, usually there's a bit of leeway here. We've been completely asked from your side, you're not coming in. Like, you're going back. So I thought, okay. So the next year come, I think it was the 10-year anniversary, maybe, 10-year anniversary of September 11th. And I wanted to go pay my respects, but I also felt that I wanted to give a warning to America. And I felt the warning was that important, that I knew what I was doing was illegal. I used a friend's passport, and I come to America, and I actually got in. I got told to go to a waiting room, and I went straight out of the airport.
Crazy.
And I gave a speech. And I knew what I was doing was wrong, but the whole way through it, I thought, if I'm morally right, I wish someone come to my country and warned me 20 years ago, warned our citizens 30 years ago, this is what's going to happen. Now, I've lived in Luton, I've experienced my whole life of Islam, so I come with a warning to America. Now, I wasn't charged by the Americans, I was arrested by the British 6 weeks later, and I was sentenced to 12 months in jail for 2 days in New York. On those 12 months, I spent 22 weeks in solitary confinement.
Which I can't even imagine how that affected you mentally.
No, you're only allowed to do 28 days on solitary confinement for mental health.
They switched you.
What they did is every 28 days, they moved me from one basement of a prison to another basement of a prison to another basement. I went around 5 different prisons. And to be honest though, I was safe because I didn't see anyone. I didn't see anyone. I wasn't allowed to work, I wasn't allowed to go to church, I wasn't allowed to do anything. Every single right that every other prisoner has was taken away, and they used the excuse that I would be killed, which, fair enough, I probably would have been. But I was safe. So years on, I plead guilty to this charge, and I go back into the prison system, and I'm thinking, well, my profile has risen. More people want to kill me than ever. I'll probably be locked away on my own again. And I wasn't. And I was sent to the maximum security prison called Wood Hill Prison, which houses some of the country's worst terrorists. And this prison, my prison sentence, what I pleaded guilty for was that a form was filled out wrong on my brother-in-law's mortgage form. No one lost no money, no one got hurt. For that sort of offence, you go to a Category D prison in Britain, where you go home at weekends and your family can come in and see you. I went to a maximum security ACAT prison with terrorists, and almost instantly, my door knocked, and a prison officer, we call them screws, a prison officer said, when they come to get you, do not leave this cell, your life depends on it.